This is Josh here from InsideWrestlingTruth, and my guest today is the Bronze God, Lennox Norris. I like him so much, I brought him back for a second interview. How you doing, man?
Man, I feel great, man. I feel great. I just drove through the Highlands, gave me some fond memories, and I was glad to know that you're over here now, so
yeah,
I didn't have to cross the river this time.
Right.
So it was a little bit easier trip, even though I got a little lost around the back road here.
Yeah.
But I found it. So I'm cool. I'm here. The bronzed one has graced you with his presence.
Well, we appreciate that. First off, let's talk about working Bully Mania and your thoughts on Sir Mo.
Bully Mania was actually, I enjoyed it. The first night was in the Armory in a smaller town in Tennessee, and I forgot what the town was. But I'll look back at the poster. But that actually was, a lot better because the house was better. The second night in Jackson, we felt great for. On one hand, we felt great for being in the Coliseum. Well, not in the Coliseum, the Oman Arena. It was a huge place, so it was mark out time for that. But the house was really down. We wish we would have had a whole lot bigger house, but we enjoyed it. And Sir Mo, man, he's one of the coolest cats around to me, and I wish, he's just started as a promoter, so he's having his growing pains right now, but hopefully he can get things going and things to take off for him.
Right. Do you feel you're underused, and if so, why?
Heck, I've always felt like I was underused ever since I've, drove to Louisville in '05. I felt like I was underused, but most people, if they're not on the top spot, are always gonna feel that way. But my personal reason is because I don't think people really, to me, to a lot of people, I'm new. Like I'd started in OVW to a lot of people when actually I started at least 4 or 5 years before then, somewhere else in Ohio. So to me, I think a lot of people still are like, I'm new, or another actually more important reason is because people think that I'm a little nice, so they kind of push me over, see me as a pushover, so they're like, well, this guy, he's too nice, he might be a little too nice, so they don't see any killer instinct in me.
Yeah.
So when they book me, they don't see me actually having the killer instinct to win a match, I think. Boy, are they wrong.
They are wrong. Me and you talked about this off camera before, but how would you restart a nation gimmick, and who would be the members?
Well, it depends on what promotion I'm in, because I'm already doing that in a couple of places, and it depends on who it puts me up in. Generally speaking, it can't be. It's got to be. It can be like a couple of incarnations of the nation where they have, a Puerto Rican or a white guy in the group. It's got to be legitimately brothers in there. It's got to be people that look the same as me, same skin tone or darker. Not to be prejudiced or anything, but that's. And I wouldn't name it the nation. I would name it something else. 'Cause I've been reading quite a bit about about not just Black history in America, but I'm talking like before slavery times,
right?
When people were ruling in Africa, and around the time when people were selling, when the African rulers were selling their fellow Africans to the Europeans. I've been reading stuff about that, and there's names that you could use besides the Nation of Domination, like the Talented 10, which was a group. That was a group of black men who were innovators, and some of them are in Black history now. They're in your Black history books, and they're because legitimately speaking, and I don't want to down my own race on this, but there is legitimately 10% of our race that actually, are, of any repute, that are, you would deem respectable. And the 90%, that's what you'll see on the news all the time. That's who you'll see portrayed as animals, savages. Those ones, in fact, are rioting in the St. Louis area right now. I know I got family there, and they told me.
Do you think racism is the reason we don't see many black world champions?
Historically, I think so. I think to a different degree now, because the thing of it is, it's not what's going on. I think it's it's a different sort of racism that will go on in this day and age. It's subtle, and it's so subtle, in fact, that the dominant culture that is considered that they don't even know it. We would notice it before they would, or some of our friends would notice it. Like my wife noticed, some of it before I did. Like she paid more attention than I did. And I'm like, really? Well, damn. So I had to look and go, wait a minute, it sure is. And kind of like, there's a bug over there. Really, I don't see it. Oh, there it is. That's how subtle it is. It's, it's hidden. It's more subconscious, because sometimes a lot of people don't even know they're doing it.
Let's talk D1W. What's your status with that company?
Oh, I'm still there. I've been doing other bookings to a lesser degree, so I'm not, I haven't really been as committed to D1W like I used to be.
Right.
And I've been trying to do other things. I've been trying to do bigger things, and they've been okay with that. Rick is still my buddy, still my friend, even though, there's sometimes I lean more towards Ron Aslam than Rick. But Rick and I we've hung out and stuff, and he's been a friend of mine for a while. He hasn't really done me too dirty, but I've seen sometimes I've seen where he's gotten heat with everybody else, though. He's been alright with me.
Right. Do you think there are some companies in Kentucky that are scared of heat, or scared to get heat?
Yep, I think so.
Would you want to talk about them, or we don't have to?
Well, actually, we can because I don't mind that stuff, because it's not gonna be, to me, it's not a diss, and because I want to tell the reason why I think they would be scared of it, because it's more general perspective. Because a lot of people are really into the, it being a kid's show, and if you have a riot going on, then they think it's gonna scare the kids away. It won't. But sometimes I think SWE might be. I think they might be a little scared of heat, too much of it. Like, they want the old school heat, but they don't want it to escalate to to a riot level.
Yeah.
Like, actually, ideally I'd want it to. And I've never really said that before, but that's what I think. Though I think also PWF, I think they're scared. I think they might be scared of riots. I think, right. I'm talking like, I don't think they're scared of like just moderate heat, like the people getting booed out of the building. But I'm talking people getting outside in the parking lot going, "Come here, let's see what you got."
Yeah.
I think they're scared of that. That's why I think a lot of promotions are scared of. Me, I say bring it on. I'm ready for it now, because right. I feel like I don't have anything to lose. I'm like, I've got a lot of pent up anger anyway, so if I get some fans pissed off, I'm like, hey, come on with it. If you can beat me, come and do it. If you can't, then you're gonna prove me right. That I'm better than you. I'm superior to you. That's why I'm in the ring and you're out there in the audience behind the guardrails.
Let's go back to D1W for a minute, okay? How did you get your start at D1W?
Well, this will coincide with my OVW exit. What had happened was I was it was literally right after I got into a conversation with Mr. Miller, and I talked to Muscagni, and he heard somehow. I think I told him. I told him what happened. I'm not sure. Either he heard through the grapevine. I think I told him straight, but he invited me to a D1W show. 2 days after the TV taping at Charlestown, Indiana, and I was just gonna go and hang out, just meet the boys and stuff. But lo and behold, I come in. They're like, "Got your gear?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I figured I'd bring my gear just in case. And they said, "Well, you working Remy?" I'm like, "All right, well, cool." And that was the first time I met Remy Wilkins too. And that guy, he's a hell of an athlete. He's real cool. And after my match, he was like, "You're the truth, man." And that was a hell of a compliment. And that was an instant boost from going to OVW and them doing to you like this, beating you down.
You have a favorite match or memory at D1W?
Yeah, the night I won the title against Isaiah. I was, I'll always be appreciative of Isaiah to, dropping the belt to me.
Right.
Because I didn't know if he didn't seem as receptive to it at first. Since I can understand why. I didn't know he probably didn't think I was ready. And then too, there was some conflict going on at the time too. Not with him and me so much, but more like as far as promotions and stuff.
Right.
But that was one of my favorite moments, and it kind of served as a validation of I am as good as I feel like I was, as I felt I was. And OVW was wrong and I was right. So it was that validation to me.
What do you think you learned the most while working at D1W?
Well, I learned that just because you have heat at one promotion like I did at Ohio Valley, only because one guy and then the rest of the roster got brainwashed like they do over there. And I thought, well, damn, how am I gonna? Because when you come from out of town, when you come from another state and you move here, the first thing they think of is OVW. They don't when you hear other letters of other promotions, they're like, who's that? They think of OVW. So to us, OVW was like the be-all, end-all. So the one thing I learned was you can still get to the bigger leagues. You can still get to the major leagues without them. And you can still learn from other people without going to OVW. You can still learn in D1W. You can still learn in PWF. You can still learn in CCW. You can still learn in SWE. You can still learn some of the stuff I was learning there in those places too.
Do you have a low point in your career at D1W or not?
The low point was during the fall, actually, of 2013. It was the fall. It was right after I lost the title, where it was actually right before I lost the title, actually, because at the time I was I grew up watching, like, in the 80s, where they had territories where if you were the champion, you got paid a little more. And, you know, when I was getting paid 10 to 15 bucks, that was you know, that's when it was one of those times where really the championship wasn't enough. It was like, you know, how am I gonna be the champion? You're gonna pay like Nick Carter's less than me. But, you know, I kind of understood his budget, but, you know, on a selfish note though, I'm like, to be, you know, for me to want to be a real professional, you know, and actually being over a decade doing it, it wasn't logical for me. It was like, well, damn, man, it was partly my fault though, because I shortchanged myself, and that's not what a guy with, you know, a professional who's done it for over a decade with any self-respect should do. So that part was my mistake too. Shouldn't let it happen. It's my deal. That was my point.
How did you get your start at SWE?
Well, Cash called me up. Originally I was, you know, truthfully speaking, I'll go ahead and say it. I was initially reluctant to go, and Cash kept, you know, saying, because I've been tired of just doing independent so much for the past year. So I was like, kind of reluctant to go. But then one night I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. I'm going to do this. And I went one night in December. I think it was 2012. Yeah, it was. It was. It was December 2012. I went, and my first match was a tag match. I think I worked twice, and I had fun, even though a certain guy got suspended because he didn't have his license. But excuse me. But I had a good time. I got to, you know, I ended up. It was one of those things where it was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, and then it turned to, damn, this is great.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite match or memory at SWE?
My favorite match, I have to put this in plural form because my favorite matches and moments, oh man, it was with Todd Morton, man. And people were, because of him, thank you, Todd. I was, you know, there were fans that were chanting tampon, because one night during a shine spot, he grabbed me and grabbed a tampon from the audience, or someone threw it to him. He just took it and stuck it in my mouth.
Damn.
So we just went on. You know, it just stuck where the people in the original EW arena were like, tampon, tampon.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again, thanks, Mr. Morton.
Have you lost any friends in the business since our last interview?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Maybe if you know anything, you can let me know.
No, I don't. I just thought I'd ask.
Okay, maybe your dad will let me know.
Oh, yeah. He stirs up a lot of shit, so he would know.
Aha. Well, I'll be coming after him real soon. Maybe that's one of the friends I lost.
He just, you know, he's so involved with the marks now. It's crazy. But anyway, continuing. Do you have a favorite? We're going to OVW now, okay?
All right.
Do you have a favorite OVW match or memory?
My favorite match was actually there's once again plural form. I have to go with two. Keep it singular. the best one was, it wasn't on television. It was the week after my birthday, on August 17th, I had a dark match after TV. And it was a tag match where they had me team with Nick Dudemeyer. And we wrestled these guys from St. Louis. One of them was Aiden Young, and the other one was Brandon Espinoza. Great worker. Both of them were pretty good. And they had us go over, and post-match, they had us beforehand. They want us to try to get the whole building to do the fist pump. So I got him doing the fist pump, and when I got him doing the fist pump, with him being a serious character, I was supposed to pull it out of him. And when I pulled it out of him, the whole building started doing it. The whole Davis Arena, and we had about 150 in the building at that time, I think. And when the whole building erupted and started doing it, that was the proudest moment of my life. I was like, yes. Once again, I was like, I was right.
Got them in your hand.
Yeah. They were eating out of that hand. So it was like, yeah.
So what led you to leave OVW? What was the whole story behind that, you leaving OVW?
Well, a lot of that story unfolded after I left. But my knowledge of the story was when Trash called me after that TV taping in March, mid-March, and said that we were gonna remove you from the roster. And I actually, and he said, you know why? And I'm like, no, I don't know why to do it. He wouldn't even answer. And I was like, so I texted and said, well, I want to wrestle for your redneck operation anyway. And I didn't give a damn at that point because I wanted to leave for 6 months, and I wish I would have left. I wish I would have left, but I had that Stockholm syndrome that a lot of people have. Especially, going there, a lot of people have Stockholm syndrome, and I was one of them. Even though I wasn't as brainwashed as everyone else there was or is now. But that's what happened, and there was more of the story that unfolded where he was telling the boys there that I was a racist thief. And that's where he was kind of looking in the mirror, because one, there's more stories of him being racist than me, especially a guy who's married to a white girl anyway. And then two, if I need to steal anything from somebody, then I don't need it. And that's been my mentality. And if you can catch a document of me stealing anything, tell me about it. Because I never stole anything from the locker room, never stole anybody from anybody's car or anybody's house, any of that stuff. You'll never, have to blame me, about anyone lifting anything out of anybody's house, because I'll never do it. I'll look at it, I'll pick it up and be like, you want this? I'll put it back down. Or I'll say, I found this, and put it down where it is in front of people. I don't steal anything, because I don't need it. If I gotta steal from you, I don't need what you have. If I gotta steal money from you, I don't need the money. If I gotta steal that TV, I don't need it.
We can get you that TV if you really want it.
We got too many as there is, so it'll be full.
Alright, we're going to talk managers now, okay?
Alright.
If you could have one manager out of these three, would it be Cornette, Heyman, or Dutch?
Man, that's the toughest question that you're asking me. Because I've worked with both of them, kind of, in some capacity in OVW. And Dutch I just met a year ago, right before he went to WWE. I'd have to go with Cornette. So I love Heyman's mic skills, but I'm still a Cornette guy. I'm a Jim Cornette guy.
A matter of fact, this weekend I was hanging out with him and his son, and they were talking real good about you, man. No bullshitting. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass or nothing. I'm being honest.
See that? That's more validation. I'm a Jim Cornette guy. I wish I would have gotten the shirt when he was in London. Damn it. One of these days I'll get the shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, validate everything. I'm a Cornette guy. I'll let Punk be the Heyman guy. I'll be the
you be Cornette guy. What's been your worst injury?
Well, the worst injury I had, it was at the Davis Arena where they did the DCW taping. I don't know if you remember Derby City Wrestling.
Yeah.
It was when I was teaming with Prophet, who was Outlaw, and we were going to do a run-in later on that night. We had a match, the first match of the program, where we were going to squash a couple guys, and we did the finisher where, me being the risk taker, and I was up top, I did the little flipping net breaker while Outlaw held our opponent up on his shoulders, and I landed. I felt my head smack the mat, and I barely remember pinning the guy. And after that, I don't even remember the victory celebration, which was probably brief. And I had to ask Outlaw 3 times, literally 3 times. I had to ask him, what are we doing? What am I going to be doing? I was supposed to hit this guy named Sergio with a chair, and I had to ask Outlaw 3 times. So I went out there in the run-in, did autopilot, duck his clothesline, hit him with the chair, and I only remember this because I saw it on tape. I didn't even remember how I hit him with the chair. I just remember that I hit him with the chair. I only remember because I saw it on tape. I had to watch it back to remember exactly what I did, and I did it perfectly. So I was like, yes, I did it all right. Got wonderful heat for the way it was supposed to be done, but I had a concussion actually, so I had to stay up all night. I was told to stay up all night, not to go to sleep. So I stayed up all night. I had to go to work the next morning. I stayed up all night. I'm like, what the hell? I had to go to work at 5, man.
Yeah.
but I never had any broken bones. I've never really had that was the only thing I had was a concussion. I never had I wake up sore after each match, but I take a shower and I'm cool.
What about rib? Favorite rib? Any good?
In Strictly Insane Pro, Pondo and Too Tough Tony. Tony pretend like he sneezed on me. Like he sneezed on the back of my head. I think that's how it went. And then Pondo had the water or something like that. And I think Tony just did like this. And it's like he sneezed on my head or something. On probably the back of my head, I think. So it wasn't on my face.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? and they were just laughing. And I was like, wait a minute. I saw a can of water. I was like, you motherfuckers, you got me, man. That was one hell of a rib. They got me. Hook, line, and sinker. Right?
All right. What's your thoughts on the IWA Mid-South?
It's interesting to me. Like, what's crazy is that I don't have anything really against Ian. Really, I don't have any. There's no real heat that I have for him, but one thing that seemed interesting to me is that it's almost like the older school, like the older guard seems to hate his guts. And there was someone that told me that Jerry Jarrett actually single-handedly singled him out as the one who ruined the wrestling business. I was like, just him?
Yeah.
It wasn't just a whole promotion like ECW, but he was like that guy. I was like, damn. But it seems like the kids, like the younger guys, almost worship him.
Yeah.
Like if like you've heard some of the recent things that have been happening over there, like with him being unruly with kids, like I guess pushing a young teenage girl and cursing out her little brother, and people were just out defending him. Or when he was said to, I guess, stiff Ron Mathis, you know, have some money. And Mathis was a buddy of mine. I sympathized with him because I know how that feels too.
Yeah.
And he was a fan who actually watched me in Ohio, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you know, hearing that stuff, you know, he was like, fuck him, and you know, a lot of people were speaking out like, yeah, this motherfucker deserves to die. You know, I was like, well, damn. They were getting extreme with it, hardcore. And some of the guys who work for Ian's promotion, or you know, they were defending him more than his own girlfriend would.
Yeah.
And that says a lot because she's defending him quite a bit from what I've seen on social media. But it just seems like the older guard hates his guts, and they blame him for ruining the business. And the kids, it's almost like it's a divide. And it's interesting how much power he has over, you know, how he can get people to, it reminds me of Paul Heyman, and how appropriate that comment I just made is, because Heyman, I seen it in OVW a little bit, and when I tried out for ECW, he's a hell of a motivator, and the way he influences you, it really, like if you have a low self-esteem coming into the building, he'll raise it up like this. By the time you get to your match, by the time you get to the, you know, out of the building, he'd be like, home fucking run. He'd be like, damn, that was good. How did you do that? You know? Home run. That was Heyman, man. He's a hell of a motivator, and it seems like it's rubbed off on Ian. And if it didn't, I don't know what the heck's wrong with him, because you can't help it. Heyman, man, I was like, you know, people would be like, he's drinking, you know, this guy's drinking Ian's Kool-Aid. They're all drinking Ian's Kool-Aid. And I'm like, well, look where he came from. He learned from the best. Heyman, they were saying the same thing about Paul Heyman, about him drinking the Kool-Aid. And, you know, people will sip it and get drunk off it like you can this beer here. And, you know, to me, I'm not going to down him on that. I think that's great. I wish I can do that. I wish I can influence people like that. So I'm not going to criticize it. I compliment them. You know, I'm like, well, hell, that's my role model. I want to do that. Can I do that? Maybe one day, huh?
We have to ask.
Yeah, I'll have to ask around the locker room.
Yeah.
Take a poll. Yeah. But it's all in the face. For the viewing audience out there, it's all in the face. You know? It's a moneymaker.
How do you like working in CCW? Evansville.
The question I was waiting for, man. I love it there, man. I don't know. I guess it's when I was a kid, you know, they got this big ass spotlight, you know, and that's all, you know, and it's spotlight in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. And
you might see the first row of the crowd. There's something about that, man. I guess that's that old school in me there, but I used to love that. They used to have that in the T.H. Barton Coliseum in Little Rock, and they used to have it in Memphis too. So that was why I marked out so much when I went to the Oman Arena, even though it was only 100 people, man. But you know, that April, I think it was it April? When I went, then they had that CCW show where I wrestled Chad Rockman. March.
Yeah.
When I went in there, man, I had an erection. Literally, I had to. In the dressing room, I had to be like, down boy, because I was like, you're wrestling a man. This is gay. Don't do that.
You have one of them,
like, don't.
Iron Sheik moments.
Yeah, I was like, he's not a woman. His woman's backstage, and your woman's backstage. So don't, you know, down boy. But I was like, man, I was thinking about how I had to go with the golden robe. I was thinking how it looked coming in, you know, coming out to that spotlight, and we had a full house that night. And I was like, yes, this is what I wanted, because I used to go there every week. the previous, 4 years previously with Tracy and Jesse Bell, and we'd main event there, and it would be in front of 60 people. Now I would look around and go, damn, I wish we could fill this place up. I wish it could be filled up again like it used to be. And the legend shows, which of course I missed, I wasn't even booked, they would fill it up. So when they filled it up in March, I didn't even care how good the match was. I didn't even care how the match was. I was like, I didn't care about, if I got jobbed. Rockman could have squashed me that night. Just being in the Evansville Coliseum, man, was like, I'm looking forward to going back on a regular basis. So you guys in Evansville, check me out. You're watching this, you're going to hear me tell you, check it out. There's going to be some interesting shit that's going to happen with the bronzed one. So watch out. I'm coming back to the Evansville Coliseum. I guarantee some fireworks are going to pop off. I promise it.
How many people were in? How many did that show draw?
I think it was 700. About 700. Yeah, about 700 people there. And the rafters were filled. I was like, yes. I was, of course, my gimmick, I'm doing like this, Ric Flairing it up to the crowd.
Yeah.
But that, that inside voice, I was like, yes, yes, yes. I was pumped. I was fist pumping like the old days. I was fist pumping like 3 years ago inside though. I was like, yes, I'm in a full house in the freaking Coliseum. Yeah. I felt great, man. I'm sorry, I'm on the road. I can't help it. The Coliseum is the shit, man. I can't help it.
Do you ever get burnt out or even thought about leaving the business?
Oh, over a course of over a decade, at least twice. Like before I came here in Columbus, I went back to Little Rock, Arkansas. I went back there, stayed at my dad's house, and he stayed in a small town that we used to live in called Clarendon, Arkansas. And I was out of business for a year. I was gonna try to get into Memphis, but Corey Macklin was blowing me off, and I ain't know nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So it was harder to get in. So I didn't even bother. I was just chilling out in Little Rock until I tried out for OVW. But then there was another time when after OVW and WWE parted ways, the summer of '08 was one of the best times I had in OVW. After that, after the tryout we had, because they tried out the whole roster for WWE and OVW, and they signed 4 guys. 2 of the guys they re-signed, and there were 2 guys that didn't even last. But one of them did. One of them was a buddy of mine. He was Abraham Washington, who was real name was Brian Jossie. He was cool, but he lasted. He was all right, but he was. It was people they knew before, people they saw at their first look. They didn't even seem like they bothered to even look at us. But it wasn't until recently till I just saw that Laurinaitis just looks, first 30 seconds he'll look at your look and that's it. And that's where he'll gauge his interest in you. First 30 seconds, your look and how good your face looks or whatever, and that's it.
Yeah.
But after that, I got frustrated and I wanted to move. And my license, I didn't even renew my license like I was supposed to, so I got suspended. So for about a year, for about 9 months, I was just, I did probably, I can count the shows I did in 2009. I only did 6 shows
in 2009
in a whole year. Yep. And after that I didn't even think about quitting though. I was just thinking of leaving Louisville, and I left for about 7 months, wrestled in Detroit. So after that I was cool. So at least it was twice.
Closest friends in the biz.
My closest ones. Actually, I don't really get to see them as often anymore. You know, some of them. There was a crew I used to travel with in Ohio, named well, the name used to be Carlton Cass. Now he goes by James Avery. It was him and Bruce Gray, and we used to travel everywhere. We used to go to Pittsburgh every 2 weeks. We would go to Cleveland, well, Painesville, Ohio, near Cleveland, once a month, and then we would go to, we would go everywhere else. Like we even went to New York. Went to wrestle for Alpha once. That was really cool. Alpha's a nice guy. I got to see Snitsky for the first time before he got signed. And then also there's, Father Fear.
Father Fear?
Yeah, that's one of my buddies. We talk quite a bit. We've talked on we've messaged each other quite a bit, and we don't even a lot of the times we don't even talk about wrestling. We'll talk about what's going on in the world events. We'll talk about a lot of social stuff, man. He gets it. To me, he understands the plight of people of color in this not only in the country but in the world too. He understands the plight of people in general, because we're not the only ones who are struggling. There are also white people who are struggling too. It's just I think it's also those few, that 1% at the top that happens to look kind of like you, but they'll look down on you too. If it weren't, I'm gonna tell you this: if it weren't for black people being in the country, if it weren't for us, classism would be more obvious, because they would look down on you because you don't have as much money as they do,
right?
And they would, because I've seen it. I've seen movies. I've seen how people, not only just movies, like Pride and Prejudice. That actually, looking back on that movie, that's what woke me up to going, man, there was no black people in that movie, but you saw how much how the upper class treated treated the lower class. Like they wouldn't let one guy marry the other guy's daughter because of their social status. Classism was the rule of that movie. That was the main story in that movie, and I was like, damn, if there were nobody like me in this movie, in this country, that's how this country would look like. And that's what woke me up to it. And that's why, guys like you would be, like, if you go up to, people in 3-piece suits, they look down on you like,
oh yeah,
they'll be like, this freaking guy over here.
Yeah.
They'll lump you in with me.
Mm-hmm.
They'll look at you as one of the lowest of the low too.
Who's the stiffest guy you ever worked with?
The stiffest guy. Most of them were. Well, actually, I'll say Ryback was actually he was one of the stiffest guys, because he was, I think, more so because of his size, and he was green.
Yeah.
The stiffest guys in the business would be mostly guys that are green and or because of their size. When you combine the two, you better be a tough motherfucker in there. But this is an attestament to how stiff Ryback, how Ryback could work, or how he was working. When he first was under contract, people were afraid to get in, they were afraid to take any moves from him. They wanted to give him new moves, like new finishers. Like they were going to give him the F5 one day before television. And none of the contract guys wanted to take it. So they was like, they called one of the non-contract guys conveniently. And since I was one of the ones who would, take a bunch of bumps, they were like, Lennox, Lightfoot, come on, we need you. So I came up in the ring. Hey man, I want you to take this F5, see how it looks. So I took the F5 from Ryback, or Ryan Reeves at the time, and I landed like this, which actually I was all right, because I was I landed kind of like how I sleep sometimes. And the boys went to me like, "Oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right, man? You look like you." I was like, "I'm all right, bro. I promise." They was. That's why when I read internet reports about you know, some of the guys being scared to work right back, and they have them working these local guys, I was like, it brought a flashback. I was like, that sounds familiar. I was like, yep, I think that might be. There's a lot of truth to that one.
Now, did you work with the Miz too, or was he already gone when you were in OVW?
Actually, I worked the Battle Royal with him.
Okay.
At Derby Park Expo. I'll never forget it. One time, the Miz, like, we were doing this battle where I came up to him, you know, worked with him a bit. I was gonna chop him. You know, I did the Indian gimmick. I figured, well, heck, logically, doing this Indian gimmick, I'm gonna have to do some chops.
Right.
So I go to chop him. He turned in like this. and I just said, screw it, I'm going over here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to work with somebody else. Because I didn't want to, you know, you couldn't be too confrontational with them in the back. Because they'd be like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You know, tear you a new one and be like, who the fuck you gonna try to tear you down? Like, don't talk to me like that, because there was this little, you know, this pecking order they had there. Contract guys, non-contract guys. So we had to be careful. So I just looked at him like, I was like, yes, man. Yeah, acting like I was kind of like, yes, damn, man. He just said, sorry, bro, I'm not comfortable with chops. So I was like, I gave him the look like, I understand, man. Damn. So I didn't make it out like it was, you know, made him feel bad or nothing. I have that way of just, you know, if they do stuff like that, I don't make them feel bad about it. Especially at that time, the way the situation was, the pecking order was, you know, that was a no-no anyway. You had to toe the line, especially if you want to try to get an opportunity, and they can go to the office or something and be like, screw that guy, or go to Heyman or Al Snow and they can sabotage it.
Yeah.
They might want to use him, like, oh, screw that guy, I don't want to use him. Or they try to, you know, they want to book you against, you know, Miz or Mikey Batts, who was there at the time, and they could be like, I don't want to work him. And they can be like, alright, well, we can scrap that idea. You probably be in a squash match, or another squash match, or just be left off completely.
How does Lennox Norris get ready for a show or a match?
I stretch. And I notice a lot of guys in the independent dressing rooms, they don't seem to do that. There's only a few that do. But it's, you know, it's helped me prevent injury. You know, it doesn't prevent me from being sore, but I've never had a broken bone because of it. Because I stretch. And then I put on the headphones. You know, I tell people ahead of time, be like, well, we'll go over things, but I'm going to go ahead and stretch. And, you know, if you need to get dressed or whatever, I'm going to be over here stretching. So I'll do that. You know, I'll go stretch and stuff and listen to my music, and I get pumped up listening to the music, and I'll get hype, and I'll think of things that have angered me in my life, not just the business, but in life. And I'll kind of get motivated, and I'll get pumped up along with the music, and then I'll be ready for the ring after that.
While we're on camera, I wanted to ask you, did you ever figure out who that guy was that was trying to steal your gimmick in Madison?
I haven't.
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I haven't seen him again.
You probably got told about it.
Yeah.
Like, and you probably seen me and was like, damn, this guy's 220 pounds. Not knowing that I weighed myself. I'm 208 actually. But you probably saw me and was like, damn, this guy's 223 pounds. What if he comes up into Madison one night and decides to accost me?
Yeah.
So he might have got scared and changed gimmicks or got booked somewhere else. Yeah, that's a good picture there. One more reason to go to CCW. Here we go. I like that.
What's been your favorite locker room to be part of?
My favorite so far has been SWE for one reason. It's been because there hasn't been any real drama backstage, and whenever there was, like, either I wasn't there or they squashed it real quick, and that's what I liked about it. And I remember why, the reason why they actually told me the reason why. Like, they talked about forming a promotion, and they said the same things they bitched about they want to eliminate in their promotion, and they've done it. They've done exactly what they said they was going to do, and one of them was eliminating any unnecessary drama and politics from their promotion. There's no politics in SWE. There's no history of it whatsoever that I've seen. Like, whenever guys won titles, it was strictly, the only politics that might have been was that, and anyone would understand this, they want to make their school look good. Some of those guys were trained by them, so they want to make their guys look good,
Right.
logically speaking. So, that's the only politics, literally, that's the only politics I've ever seen, and that's no different from any other promotion,
Right.
and is accepted, and it's not no one politicking to be the champion or the SWE champ or the bluegrass champ. It just, we're gonna give this to you. Otherwise, Cashflow would have been champ for a year. But he's not there's no politics in the promotion. There's no drama there. And whatever drama that's being started there, they nip it in the bud and they squash it real fast. I've seen it happen.
Alright, this is a question I ask everybody. What is your favorite pro wrestling moment as a fan?
Actually, my favorite one was the one I didn't even get to see, because it was WrestleMania 3. Because at the time, when I was a kid, I couldn't get pay-per-view because I was in Clarendon, Arkansas, which is a small town an hour away from Little Rock. I couldn't get cable, or I couldn't get pay-per-view, or even closed circuit. So that Sunday, I was like, oh God, man, I hope Hogan won. I was worried. I thought Andre was going to beat him. Which turned out he almost beat him, but Hogan actually won. And the moment on Superstars the following Saturday, the moment I heard that Hogan won, I jumped up out of my chair like, yes! And then after that, I got even more good news. At that time, being a mark, I was like, they said Steamboat beat Randy Savage for the Intercontinental Championship. I was like, yes! And as a kid at that time, I didn't give a damn about how the match was.
Right.
I didn't care. I knew, I read in the magazines, like they were saying it back in those wrestling magazines, that Hogan wasn't the most talented guy in there. Yeah. Like, even when they kayfabed it, they were still saying that stuff. But they said he wasn't the most technically skilled WWF champion. But I ain't give a damn about that. That was my first action figure.
Yeah, I know.
I'd imitate him. Him and Junkyard Dog were my favorites. I'd imitate them, and I didn't care how unskilled they were. I didn't care if they didn't know a wrist lock from a wristwatch. I was 9. I didn't give a damn. They captivated me doing this and this. I was like, girl.
What about Warrior? Were you a Warrior fan?
Oh, boy, was I. Once again, I didn't give a damn about how unskilled he was. I didn't give a damn if he couldn't do a moonsault. Or I didn't care if he was as good as Shawn Michaels, if he could do a planche off the top. Yeah. I used to like Ultimate Warrior. Here's a story. One Saturday morning, actually it was every Saturday morning he done a promo, I would literally go outside after the show, play basketball in the yard, and go, what in the hell did the Warrior, what was he talking about? I tried to figure it out for an hour, like, he was talking about the spaceship landing. Is there spaceships landing? I was like, so he's gonna do this to Rick Rude. He's gonna load the spaceships with rocket fuel. Where would he get the rocket fuel? Does he know anybody in NASA, or does he? I was sitting there trying to figure it out. And I could barely figure out freaking algebra and trying to figure out the Warriors promo.
In ending this interview, is there anything you would like to say or send a message to anybody out there watching?
Only to my fans. Only to the people who have encouraged me and who I've talked to on Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and I've some of my friends and fans. I like to tell you guys thank you for being encouraging to me. Especially during the times where I felt like I couldn't go, or I felt less than what I usually felt I could be. Where I felt beat down and feel like I wanted to quit. And those times I sometimes I want to tell them strictly I appreciate it. And I love the fans where they boo me and where they cheer for me. One thing that you do know is that I'm going to give it everything I've got. And that you're going to get your money's worth from Lennox Norris. No matter what I do, no matter what side of the ring I'm on, you're going to get your money's worth. You know that I'm going to try to, I'm going to steal the show. I don't even try to do that. It just happens. But I'm going to give maximum effort no matter what. Whether I steal the show or if I fall short, I'll keep saying it and I'll keep on reiterating until I'm blue in the face that I will give you your money's worth. Whether it's on the mic, whether it's in the ring, you're going to see Lennox Norris. You're going to see, everything you see in the ring, whether I'm talking to you or talking about someone else, it's going to be realism is what you're going to see in wrestling. That's what's still in the show. It's going to be realism. And it's kind of lacking nowadays because we, as a whole, don't really know how to do it like the older guys do. So I'm going to do my best. And whatever part my opponent or anybody else in the dressing room plays, that's up to them. I'm just going to tell you I'm doing my part to make sure that I make my performances as real to you as humanly possible.
Alright, Lennox, thanks again, man.
Thank you. I didn't mean to be so long-winded, but that's just...
Oh, you're fine, dude.
It takes a while to get my point sometimes.
Goddamn time, dude.
I know, fuck, I'm sorry, man.